Hey, what's up, guys? Here with some breaking news. I'm your host, Tony Handsome, as always, with my co-host, Fernando the Boxing Brain Valdez. I'm live here at the Red Rocks Sportsbook. Big news in UFC 294. We have two replacements, not one, but two. The main event and the co-main event. I don't know if you heard about it. Did you hear about it, Fernando? And how are you doing, my friend?
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks for asking. Yeah, I just heard about it. Obviously, you have more details than I do because it just happened, and you're in Vegas. You're in the heart of it all. But I heard we got Usman's gonna fight, and Volkanovski as well.
Two really big surprises right now with Costa actually not making weight. There was some kind of issue and him pulling out against Chimaev, and Usman actually stepping in. Usman's coming off a back-to-back loss against Leon Edwards. He's hoping to redeem himself.
Not to interrupt you, but is Usman into that journeyman territory now, where he's kind of a little past his prime? You think? What are your thoughts there?
Well, I'm not sure. I think Usman's definitely still a talented fighter, but at the end of the day, his two most recent losses were against Leon Edwards, so it could have been the hurdle that he couldn't get over. Let's see what he can do against Chimaev. In my opinion, though, Chimaev, like I said, will be a little bit too much for him to handle, and I think he'll overwhelm Usman, eventually winding up with the stoppage.
Yeah, I think Usman's got to win this, so his back is against the wall. I mean, at this point, it could be a turning point in his career where he's just going to become just another guy, and that's easy to do in the UFC. So I mean, I'll take Usman, but like I said, I think he's getting to that journeyman status where his best years are maybe behind him. So
agreed. I think having your most three recent fights in the UFC, all being losses, is definitely going to be a heavy stain on his record, and it might be something that they look at when they decide to cut fighters. To be honest with you, his name is always it's a top tier, and he'll always garner some kind of recognition in the sports world. However, I think that three losses, the last three fights, and they're all losses, especially against top tier competitors, you might just wind up as a gatekeeper at this point. Moving over to the main event now. We actually had Charles Oliveira pulling out against Islam Makhachev, being replaced by Alexander Volkanovski.
That's right.
I think is going to be a really good one. This is actually going to be the second time that these two meet, with Makhachev winning a 5-round decision over Volkanovski on their first meeting.
I think the Volkanovski is going to give him a tough fight, though, so I'm going to go with it. It's always like late replacements, and they get the upset because you've trained for one guy for so long, and then they throw another guy who has a completely different style. All of a sudden, your back's against the wall. You haven't trained for this guy. You were training for a completely different fighter, and you could get shocked at that point. That happens quite a bit, in the fighting world.
I agree. I mean, Volkanovski is definitely a talented fighter, and shout out to both taking these fights on such short notice, actually saving the card. Because as UFC 294 is on October 21st, just a week away. I want to get back to boxing a little bit. Today, October 14th, we have KSI versus Tommy Fury and Dillon Danis versus Logan Paul.
And it's going to be it's in England. Yeah, it's in England as well. So you probably have to check your times because that's going to be all. It's either going to be in the morning or at night or in the middle of the night. I don't remember. But the Furies are turning into like the fighters that fight all the YouTube guys. So I don't know if you saw that video of Fury's dad like punching the glass. That was wild, man. I don't want to get near that old man. He can probably throw down still.
A force to be reckoned with. That guy is no joke. He's
he's
a big, solid man with a solid reputation and even more solid right hand.
That's right. I think he even hit it with his head. I mean, he was like determined to get through that glass. I was like, I don't know if I want to be in that little container. Like, when you're in the Shark Tank or in the water and the shark's like hitting the glass.
You're one of those guys on an English soccer team that you just don't want to run into in the streets of like the Manchester United football fanatics. Those guys.
Or New Zealand like rugby player.
Yeah, Tommy Fury is actually a -400 favorite over KSI. It's going to be pretty interesting to see. KSI, the last I looked here at the screen at Red Rock, was +300. So he's a considerable underdog in this fight.
Well, I know you said you don't think Tommy has a lot of power, but I think he's gonna knock this kid out. I'm pretty sure he is. I mean, I've seen him fight.
I don't think Tommy Fury has what it takes to knock him out. However, they're kind of going the Paul route. These guys are fighting YouTubers. So could he surprise everyone? Sure. Everybody has a lucky punch. Yeah, definitely. But,
And Tommy Fury
yeah,
is close to a boxer.
the way that Tommy
Tom-
Fury, Jake Paul went down, just
Mhm.
I didn't see the knockout power in his hands. And he was a little stiff. Hopefully, it could be a little bit more fluid in this one.
Yeah, but he's a real fighter. You know what I mean? When he fought the Paul brother, you know, Jake Paul. He's actually, you know, Jake Paul's a really good fighter for being like just a YouTube guy. So I think Tommy's gonna knock him out. That's my pick at least.
He's proven a lot of people wrong. He's proved everyone wrong. I mean, he did lose to Tommy Fury, but he did give him a hell of a fight there. And then, like you said, Tommy Fury was the first professional fighter that Jake Paul did fight. So the main event, though, I think it's the main event, or it might be the co-main event.
They're doing a co-main event thing.
They actually had some funny YouTube and Twitter beef going back and forth leading up to this fight. So there's a lot of bad blood. Could it be for the city, maybe, but Dillon Danis took a lot of shots at Logan Paul's fiance, soon to be wife. So it's going to be interesting how Paul takes it out of him in the ring.
Yeah, there's no love lost between those two guys. So they're probably going to go out there and try to finish it. I think both those guys are just going to come forward and swing and just be like, whatever. And the first one who gets a lucky punch in, you know, is going down. So I pretty much feel that's good. It's going to be like one of those women's fights where the girls just stand in the middle of the ring and just beat the crap out of each other until somebody falls. So
definitely. I mean, I hope it does. At the end of the day, it's entertainment for the fans. It's on DAZN.
Right.
I'm not really sure of the times because it is in the UK. Logan Paul is a minus 490 favorite, and Dillon Danis is a plus 400 underdog. So I think we already know which way the tide's going to turn in that fight.
yeah.
So, Fernando, let's get to our predictions. What are your predictions? Let's go UFC and boxing. Boxing, what do you have first? What do you have in the Tommy Fury fight?
Tommy Fury. I have Tommy Fury winning in a knockout.
I'm gonna have to agree with that. I'm gonna go Fury as well, but I'm gonna go Fury decision. I just think that KSI is gonna be a little too overwhelmed in the ring, stepping in with a professional fighter like Tommy Fury. Same
Agreed.
Big Paul, same exact thing. I think same exact outcome in this fight. What's your opinion on Logan Paul versus Dillon Danis?
I think Logan Paul's going to win, probably in a decision. You know, I'd like to see him knock him out, but he's probably going to go to a decision. That's what I think. That's my feeling, my gut feeling.
I agree. I think Logan Paul is going to win as well. He fought Mayweather. It wasn't really an entertaining fight. He did fight KSI. It was one of KSI's first boxing fight. I think it was actually Logan Paul's first fight as well.
It was the first fight. That's what started all of this. This is kind of the beginning.
Right. And at the end of the day, he is an athlete and he has brain experience, and I do think that he'll prevail in this fight. I think if it was a mixed martial arts fight, now we're talking a different story. Dillon Danis might have the upper hand, but in a particular boxing fight like it is, I think the win goes to him. What are your picks for UFC 294? I know we had this big shakeup. I'm gonna have to go with my original picks. I think Chimaev is gonna be a little too much for Usman. You know, outpoint him, out wrestle him, outscore him, and eventually just overwhelm him for the decision. Makhachev, the same thing. I think it'll be a repeat of the first fight, and he'll outpoint, outmuscle, outwrestle, and muscle out the decision, a 5-round decision, unanimous.
I'm going to go against you in the UFC. I'm just going to pick Usman, and I think his back's against the wall. He's got to win, so we're going to see something out of him. And then Volkanovski in the second one. I think, you know, he's got vengeance. Hopefully he comes in. He's a late replacement. You know, gets a lucky punch. Those are going to be my picks for the UFC. So we're going to go head to head there.
All right, so we're the picks are in. We're going head to head this week. Looks like we're on the same side in boxing. Looks like we're on the opposite sides in UFC. Time will tell. Boxing is coming up first. Okay, looks like the picks are in. Fernando and I are head to head this week in the coming week in UFC. And it looks like we're on the same page in our boxing picks, Fernando.
Yep.
Good to see you, my friend. Make sure you guys follow us on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Fighting Words 702. Make sure to please like this video and subscribe to the channel and be on the lookout for our reactions to the upcoming fights. As always, I'm your host, Tony Handsome, joined by my co-host, Fernando the Boxing Brain Valdez. Take it easy, Fernando.
All right, see you later, Tony.
See you soon. And those are
Take care.
Fighting Words.